launch into my first talk, I wanted to introduce just a few of our climate champions. Does everyone know what a climate champion is in the room? Does anybody not know? Raise your hand if you don't. Okay, that's fine. So a climate champion is a person who has contributed over a long period of time to climate adaptation. And every year, we have the Climate Champions Awards, and it's at Michael's on East, and we just had it a few months ago. We now have 14 climate champions, and I'm happy to say some of them are here today. So I want to introduce them. And of course, Karen Holbrook, Dr. Karen Holbrook, and Jennifer Romanecki. And let's see, who else is here? There's several more coming, but A.G. Lafley, where is he? Oh, there he is. And so, come on in. Good morning. And so I wanted to just acknowledge them, and also today, someone who is, I think she's a closet hurricane lover. And her name is Jennifer Ahern Koch, because she always comes to Hurricane Day, and I think she likes chasing hurricanes. I really do. And so, welcome, Jen. Okay, so today I'm going to start with something a little different, because I wanted to set the table with our latest project, which I think is the defining moment for Sarasota Bay to be really recognized for what it is. And it's a marvel. It's an environmental marvel. It doesn't exist anywhere else. This is the one and only ecosystem like it. And we talk about it all the time, but the bay isn't just under the water. It's the land around the bay. And so I want to talk about the inspiration for why we think the living laboratory for climate adaptation and Sarasota Bay are the perfect match. So, oh, sorry. Am I going the wrong way here? Here we go, okay. I have to actually put my glasses on to see that. I forgot I had them here. All right, so the living laboratory, as you can see behind me, it includes sea level monitoring, weather stations, water quality sensors, infrastructure resilience, community engagement, innovation in action. And those are all the key components of the living laboratory. And this is really, I think, a picture that's worth 1,000 words. That's Sarasota Bay. It's not huge, but it is the center of life on the Suncoast, below the water and above the water. And the map is telling, because if you look, you will see on the south side, Selby Gardens, Spanish Point. And then you see the main campus of Selby Gardens downtown, and then you see the bay. And of course, the bay is the bay, kind of the center of the bay, the park, one park for all. And that park is such an important piece in this puzzle we're putting together this morning. And then you see the Ringling Museum, the world-famous one and only Ringling Museum, and you see New College, and you see this campus. And those 6 sites right on Sarasota Bay are the crown jewels of this community. They all have the same problem. They all face sea level rise, and they all face hurricanes and storm surge. And so all of us have a common problem, and every single one of these institutions is good to great in its own way. But when you think about putting these pearls together in a string like this, you see the opportunity before you that Sarasota could really change the world in how we deal with climate threats. We've got all the assets. They're all on the table. All we have to do is use them now because everybody knows what they are, everybody loves them, and everybody wants to protect them. And together, the synergy of this is really overwhelming when you think about it. So what's the problem? Well, we know that destructive climate events are accelerating. There's no question about that. We've had 11 major hurricanes, 3, 4, or 5, strike the Gulf Coast just since 2017. That's not even 10 years. We've seen flooding in our region now, and in 2024, think of St. Armand's Circle, one of the economic engines of Sarasota, flooding 5 times in 1 year. How do you run a business and an economy if you have 5 major events that put people out of business 5 times? You can't sustain an economy or a tax base if you operate like the climate we have today is like it used to be in the 20th century. It isn't. And we need to acknowledge that, and we need then to do something about it because we can. And that's the reason we should. Excessive precipitation is a big deal. Sometimes we have 25 inches at one time, and sometimes we have none. And that's where we are right now. When we have none, we have nice clean water. And when we have a lot, our water is dirty because everything is washing off the Florida shelf into the bay. And so right now, we're going this manic back and forth from too much water to none. And we're in the none right now, but I can tell you it's going to change, and I think I know when. So, and let me just make this last point. Sea level rise, this is a critical fact. Most people do not realize this, but between 1975 and 2000, the average sea level rise per year was 1 inch per decade. Now it's 3 inches per decade. We're a low-lying area, and every decade we're getting 3 inches of sea level rise. This is not going to change for the better in the near term. We know that, so we can plan on higher sea levels for the foreseeable future, but that doesn't mean we have to go under. We have to make sure we're ready for that sea level and we build our communities so they're resilient to what we know is going to happen. So this is what changed my mind on, are we ready for this? We're ready because we have to be. Idalia in 2023, which by the way was an El Nino year, which we're coming into right now, created 3.5 to 5.5 foot storm surge on the barrier islands. And the storm was 150 miles off the coast. And it was only a Category 2. It was only a Category 2. Then Helene, 150 miles off the coast, was a major hurricane, but it was 150 miles from Sarasota, and at the Bay Park, 6.7 foot storm surge measured with about 3 feet of additional waves on top. We don't need to have a direct hit like we did with Milton that produced the same kind of storm surge in order to have these storm surges. So this is what's different. Most people think, well, we didn't get it, but now getting it is something different. We don't need a direct hit to have direct impact. And so this is the new information parsed the right way. So we have to be ready for more storm surges along Sarasota Bay even if we don't have more direct hurricane hits. So I call this the point of recognition. Those storms really were the point of recognition for this community. And you can see stronger storms, higher surges, more extreme precipitation, driving inland flooding as well as on the coast. And now we're talking about not the barrier islands only, we're talking about the mainland. And so that changes how we look at the future. So what to do? Well, we can make believe it's not happening. And you know, I understand this inertia. We know what we know from when we grew up, and we assume everything is the same as it was. And the way we did things before are the way we're comfortable doing things now. But what I want to say is, look at our assets. Let's organize our strengths to meet the problem head on. And we're in the position to do that right now. 10 years from now, we may not be in that position. I don't know if we will. But what I do know is we're ready right now. And so we've got the problem, 3 degrees warming we've had, and it's supercharging hurricanes. Sea level rise is 3 inches a decade. The hurricanes in the Atlantic are producing major storms and ones that rapidly intensify 70% more frequently than it did between 1975 and 2000. There has been a huge uptick in rapidly developing hurricanes. And since 2017, as I've said, we've had 11 hit the Gulf Coast. So the CAC's educational impact is really a unique community asset. There's only one CAC. This is it. It's right here in Sarasota, and it happens right in the middle of all these wonderful assets we've talked about on Sarasota Bay and the love for this bay. And we can now move forward and look at our common assets and say, these assets have similar problems. Why should we solve these problems one location at a time when we can solve the whole problem together at once by working together? So I love to think of it like this: science and biology, science and park, science and the performing arts, science and a world-class museum, science and education. Wow, we've got it all. We're covering all the bases. And so what we want to do is install a meso network of common sensors at each one of these world-class locations. It'll include weather sensors for wind, temperature, humidity, pressure, and it will include water sensors for sea level rise. Do you know that we don't have a sea level rise gauge between Fort Myers and Port Manatee? And we have billions and billions of dollars of real estate right on the coast. We don't have one sensor. That's not okay. So we can put these sensors in, and visual sensors that can, when a storm surge comes, we can see it coming. We can photograph it. We can teach people what it looks like and what the precursors are. And so we'll have this wonderful record of things that happen that we can use. We can then create a test bed for products and services. This is a key part of the living laboratory. With these sites, we can test new water treatment and filtration. We can test new wind-resistant materials and water-resistant materials. And things like albedo, which is the reflectivity of surfaces of buildings that keep the community cool in the summertime when we have really hot weather here. So in a way where we're creating the living laboratory as not just a measuring system, but we're conducting it as a test bed for new products and services. And some of those services are not hard things, like bricks and mortar. They're new products like insurance. Insurance is one of the big drivers of affordability in our area. And we have the ability now to look with this new data and a few more pieces to really be a test bed for these new products and services that can be different kinds of insurance where you can insure certain kinds of risk without insuring other kinds of risk. Today we have a one-shoe-fits-all customers approach, and it's not working, and people are not getting insurance that they need now because it's so expensive. So what we need to do is pioneer new insurance products. And what a place to do it, along Sarasota Bay, where we can codify and quantify the risk with our new sensors and our new test bed, and then make those new products available in our community, and hopefully then in communities that have similar problems to ours, which are many communities. So the data analysis and the common analysis system is really a part of this. An integrated data set, a historical data set, and a new data set that will drive the future. And here's the thing, this data will be the basis for new models for Sarasota Bay, new AI-driven storm surge and hurricane models for our community that are locally based, that are just for our community. And with the advent of AI right now, we hope that the Sarasota Bay project, the Living Laboratory, will drive AI model development for our community, and we're working with some of those companies right now to get them involved in this process. So you can see how this whole information system for the shoreline and for climate adaptation will change the threat that we see into opportunity. It elevates our coastal resilience, and it's a beacon for coastal cities around the nation, and perhaps further than that. It integrates what we've learned from other people and what we will learn here into a common approach to solving this problem. So the crown jewels are already pretty elevated, right? But now working together to solve really a huge problem that we have will elevate them even further. So we're rearranging the puzzle so that we have a more effective system. And wow, this could really drive innovation in our community. A university sitting right here with innovators who want to work on Sarasota Bay, where this institution is part of the Living Laboratory that attracts students to come here and learn about one of the great opportunities of our time to actually do something in climate adaptation, serving this community and creating climate resilience, and then being a beacon for others. So it elevates our community. It elevates these crown jewels. It can expand inland, and I have a couple ideas where that could be. I was thinking science and symphony at some point. It supports true sustainability by meeting the problem head on. And it's an absolute wonderful opportunity for community education, live and in person with this threat. So what we really want to do is we want to protect our tax base, because that is really what drives our community. if we have these insults and we deal with them as if, well, they're not really happening, or they're only going to happen once every 100 years, so we just had one, and of course that's not true, it increases our cutting-edge reputation. It gives us a competitive advantage over other locations, and it drives the right kind of people who want to live here and creates our community learning and private property protection. So it's a model for coastal community climate adaptation. It's a beacon for others to follow, and of course, the lighthouse is a beacon, and that's what our job is. It's a magnet to establish economic development, growth, and protection with resilience. And it will create an international buzz for Sarasota. It has, if we care about tourism, this is a kind of thing that can help with that. So what are the next steps? The first phase in this is getting the crown jewels together and coming up with a plan for each site that has all of these components. And this will take about a year and will require that we bring in a lot of expertise, engineering expertise, project management expertise, expertise on sensors and how do you put them, how do you maintain them, and develop the cost structure of what this will look like. And phase 2 is actually the build out of the living laboratory. And I think with community behind us, we could do this whole project in less than 3 years. Now, it will be a dynamic system that keeps growing, but it will be one that keeps renewing itself as our knowledge base increases. And I don't know, I like the feeling of being first. You know, I usually like to do Hurricane Day on April 1st. There is kind of a joke in that. But this year I wasn't able to do it on April 1st because I had a meeting with a Da Vinci robot. I had a hernia that had to be fixed, and it was on April 2nd. So we're last this year instead of first, but next year it's going to be April 1st again. So I wanted to start with that to set the stage for why this is so important. And now we're going to talk about the immediate threats of sea level rise and hurricanes as it relates to this year. Rob?